This is streaming. The stream is like, oh, perfect. I can see this now. It's counting down. Nine, 8. Hi, everybody. I need to mute this real quick. Sorry. Hi. Welcome back to Let Her Cook, brought to you by SZN. I am Jackie Dutton, and today we are going to make a creamy chicken and wild rice soup because it's soup season, right? It's Q4, especially if you were in the Northern Hemisphere. Your weather is changing. So it's lovely in fall, and it even rained on the West Coast. So we're going to actually do a soup today. I am going to see if I can actually get on to see the chat and see what you guys are saying. While I do that, I'm going to turn this pot on, and we're just going to heat this up to a medium heat. This is my Le Creuset Dutch oven. It will hopefully last forever. And I'm going to take some chicken breasts, and we're going to season them. And I'm going to tell you what seasoning actually makes this a little different from just your average Campbell's chicken and rice soup. And then while this starts to cook, we're going to talk about some crypto things because we have some drama to get to. Major drama, actually. These are thin sliced breasts. This is like one total, just 1 pound. So I'm going to use 2 because personally, I'm a meat person. I really like a ton of chicken. When I dig my spoon in, I'm eating the vegetables because like you have to, but I'm really eating the chicken. And then we are going to add the second package, which is also a little over 1 pound. Let's see. So the drama we're going to talk about is actually about the monad ecosystem. And if you don't know, you're about to know. But I don't know, it's a little screwed up, but we're going to talk about the pros and cons about why they did what they did. Okay, throw this away over here. If you tuned in last week, we made a sushi salmon bake. We also tried out some like wonton type things, some like spring roll-ish, ground chicken spring rolls, and then also some scones. And that was a lot of fun. The scones turned out really well. The sushi bake turned out really well, and the rolls I just made like way too big. So lesson for next time. We will keep that in mind as we go. All right, so I'm going to season these, and I know this is going to sound like, wow, you know, florals for spring, revolutionary. But I'm going to season this in addition to salt, pepper, and some oregano. We're going to add poultry seasoning. Poultry seasoning has a lot of sage in it, as well as thyme, marjoram, and other flavors. But it really adds this like really lovely depth to the chicken and to the soup, and it has this slightly like green color after it's done. So don't be afraid of poultry seasoning. It's a favorite, and I think you're gonna love it. I hadn't really tried much of it until a couple years ago, and now I can't really make any kind of chicken soup without it. So we're gonna add some oil to this pan while this continues to heat up a little bit, and we're going to season the meat. So make sure you season both sides. And I like to do all of my seasonings on one side right away. Sorry, I changed up my thing over here so I could keep the second camera plugged in. So pepper. The poultry seasoning, which isn't open. Don't you hate this packaging? Like, it's not a bottle of Tylenol. It's fucking poultry seasoning. Why does it have the same protective packaging as like a bottle of drugs? Maybe poultry seasoning is secretly the new crack. Speaking of crack, if anyone is looking to watch something hilarious and you haven't seen the Charlie Sheen documentary lately, You should watch it. It actually is very funny. Oh my god, I cannot get this open for the life of me. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, the thing I learned the most from the Charlie Sheen documentary that was really surprising is that I guess crack makes you gay. Didn't know that. I've also never done crack, so, you know, all of it's a surprise, like all of the information. But it is very entertaining, especially like as he talks about how he's had a hard time, guys. He's had kind of a hard time. A lot of it's been self-inflicted, but you know, it's all right. He's good right now, which is nice. Okay, we're gonna flip this over. We're gonna season the other side, and then we're gonna start searing the meat. So we're gonna sear this for maybe like a minute or two on each side, and then we're gonna pull it out, and then I'm gonna cook the veggies and then the rice and add everything else back in. And the boiling is really gonna make the meat soft. So kind of like we did with the gumbo, if you watched that episode, which was the first episode. I'm gonna get this plate out. Okay, same deal here. Nice and salty, and this is obviously, you know, chicken soup, so you expect it to be a little saltier. Let's see, oregano, black pepper, and the star of the show, the poultry seasoning. Okay, so let's start searing this. While we talk about Monad. Okay, so Monad has decided to call themselves, and I think they're a blockchain, and they started building in 2022. And the big hype for a long time around 2021, 2022 was these blockchains that they would build, and they would call themselves an ETH killer. Yeah, that's not happening. It's not an ETH killer. That's a lie. I'm gonna cover this so I don't have to scream. The ETH killer thing is bullshit. It's not happening in this space. If it did, it would have already happened. You try to be your own thing, right? My favorite is that these blockchains will say like, oh yeah, we're an ETH killer, but then they'll also say they're EVM technology. What? Like that is like saying, okay, yeah, I'm gonna stop dating this person, I'm gonna break up with them, I'm gonna ruin their life, and also I'm still gonna keep sleeping with them. Stop with the ETH killer narrative. Go make up your own thing and stop using EVM technology while you do it. But anyway, Monad decided that they were going to make their own blockchain, and when they used their testnet, and as they used their testnet, they really courted the communities within some third world areas, if you will. So the third world area being like Nigeria, South Asia, India, all of the people who will work their ass off for like a $5 airdrop, basically. Consequently, their airdrop has finally, it's 2025, they've been building since 2022, the airdrop has finally arrived, and they just released their tokenomics and their airdrop, and not only did they decide they're just going to airdrop to a bunch of Coles and influencers who have a high Twitter following, and they're going to pump the price and then dump their bag that they were given, but they are specifically excluding most of the people from these other countries, these Nigeria, India, and South Asia. Consequently, the Discord of Monad right now is nothing but basically like foreign hate mail, and it's kind of entertaining, actually. If you want to go in and take a look, it's actually pretty hilarious. Lots of like, you fucked with India for the last time, very like odd messages, kind of like a comic book almost. So I recommend going in and taking a gander. It's kind of funny. Okay, so once you have a slight like brown color on this chicken, you're gonna pull it out. It already smells really good. Set this down like this. And we're gonna keep cooking. But personally, you know, I think the ETH killer narrative is especially dumb because the people on these bigger blockchains like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, these are like people who live in New York City, LA, San Francisco. Everyone who lives everywhere else in a lovely place where they pay taxes and like they can see that the roads are nicer and stuff like that, they look at people in those big cities and they're like, why the hell would you live there? But the people in those cities, they don't care. You couldn't blow them out of there with dynamite. So consequently, like New Yorkers, they don't give a shit that it's expensive, that you get mugged on the subway. They don't care that like a slice of pizza is $9. They will continue to live there. They are the Bitcoin maxis of the world. They don't give a shit. They will just continue to funnel money into that system and they just want to stay. Ethereum people, it's like in LA where you spend your life in your car and you don't care. You want to know why? Because in the middle of February, you don't have to check the weather or scrape ice off of your windshield before you go get in your car, and you still sit in it in traffic, but you get there with no weather event before that happens. There may be a fire, but usually that's not anybody's fault. So the blockchain world and the maxi world, the blockchain maxis, the Bitcoin maxis, the ETH maxis, they are the people in the cities that are never leaving. You can't convert these people, okay? We need to work on like the Nashville-ish blockchain. I don't really even know what that is at this point. Yeah, I have some personal thoughts on what Solana is, but it's not a US city. And apparently neither was Monad. Oh man. Okay, I'm trying to find the chat, you guys. I'm so sorry. I can't, it's like not staying up for me. There we go. Okay, we're gonna flip this chicken. And we're gonna cover that. Sorry if that, now it says I have to log in to send a message. I can't see the chat. We either have like one technical difficulty, like either with the camera or the chat or being able to see something here. Sorry. It's all right. But those are kind of like my two rants for the day about the ETH killer narrative and Monad. So, you know, here's the thing with what Monad did. Do I think it's incredibly disrespectful to the people who worked so hard using the testnet, verifying, you know, helping them verify the transactions per second, the amount of users they had. It's really a slap in the face to the actual community and not the Coles that didn't even use like anything to do with that blockchain whatsoever. But at the same time, the price action on the chart is going to probably be way worse if you just hand these people essentially free money. And we have seen this again and again and again where they get an airdrop and it's just a big red candle for the first hour. You know, I've also seen this with tokens and coins that started off with major VC funding because the people that had their stake in it, they were given their tokens way before retail. So consequently, when it finally went live, they dumped the shit out of it too. I don't know if there's a good answer anymore. And I think the airdrop thing has always been a little controversial. And I don't know if it's ever actually been good for price action, and it certainly has never been good for price action on the first day. So that's my 2 cents. My 10 is free. All right. So this is cooked enough for me. Remember, we're going to put this back in, so it doesn't need to be over 165 like chicken should be. It's probably about 80% of the way there, even the bigger pieces. But we're going to throw this back into boil, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. Okay. So now we're going to start with our veggies. We're going to start with the carrots. When you, let me turn this up a little bit. When you cook with carrots, you're going to want to add them first, whether you start with, or whether you're cooking something like short ribs or a pot roast, or it doesn't really matter. But carrots, obviously, they're going to be a little more dense than an onion or celery, but it's also going to bring out their sweetness, like the natural flavor of how sweet they are. So you're going to want to add the carrots first, cook them for a little bit, and then you're going to add in your other things like your aromatics and celery, peppers, that kind of thing. So start with your carrots and then just kind of saute these for a little bit. So as far as the veggies are concerned today, we have carrots, celery, onions, garlic, and I have some portobello or shiitake mushrooms. And then we're going to add in some wild rice as well. And we're going to make sure that we toast that a little bit. And then we're going to add the meat. We're going to add the broth. And we're going to let that come to a boil for like 20 minutes. And then we're going to pull the chicken out, shred it, put it back in. And then the last thing that makes this actually creamy is a dairy-free ingredient, shockingly. But you can use, if you want to use milk, please use a little heavy cream. But I am actually going to use coconut milk. So I am lactose intolerant. I don't want to talk about what happens if I eat milk. So we're going to keep it clean. Let's see. Oh, I can finally see the chat, guys. I think the airdrop meta is ending, not enough liquidity to support it anymore. I completely agree. And I also, we talked last week about how a lot of volume is really suspect at this point. Like the Aster volume, was that legit? But Binance has enough money to actually fake that if they wanted to. I'm not saying they did. I'm just saying they have enough money to make it look like it wasn't legit. All right. Now we're going to add onion, celery, and some garlic. By the way, the mountain of dishes that I had last week, I think it took me like 2 hours to do. We're going to try to avoid that this week. I did have a ton of food, like, just to enjoy those, so that was nice. Okay, make sure you stir this up. The volume on BNB names has been insane. Gotta be bot trading or wash trading. I would agree. I would also add to that comment that the market makers like Wintermute are definitely up to some shit. And they always have been, and we have known this. But they are extra up to something, I think, when it comes to this new like meme trading. But I have actually worked with a meme coin team where one of these market makers, I will not name names, but one of the market makers, they came to us, and it was actually more than one, but they came to us and we had really great volume on the chart, and they were like, hey, we want to buy in. And basically what they do is they ask for a private token allocation, and that's set at a different price that is determined from whatever the chart is showing. And part of it's publicity. Part of it, you see that these major market makers have a bag of your token, have a giant bag, and it's like, oh, they're accumulating. This is a good sign. And then retail starts to pile in. But you already know how this ends. So just be careful when you see that go down. Also be careful when you stir this that you don't knock a bunch of your veggies out of the pot, like I just did. Okay, this is starting to smell very nice. So I'm going to add a little butter. I know I said I'd keep this dairy free. I'm like lying that way. We're going to add a little butter just because I think it's better with the rice. Oh, the camera's going to work well. Also, don't be afraid of butter, guys. It's a lovely fat, and it's way better for you than whatever the fake stuff is. Okay. So we're just going to add 1 cup of wild rice. And I'm going to coat this in the butter as much as possible. But we're going to start just kind of like toasting this rice. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Toasting the rice really brings out this very nice nutty flavor and just like a nicer texture with the rice, in my opinion. Like already I can smell this kind of almost like a walnut flavor. So the idea in the chat is to short the tokens that market makers are holding, not financial advice. Honestly, wouldn't be a bad idea. I would say if they're holding it for more than like, a week or two, yeah, I would start shorting it. My other, and I actually think they ended up selling, my other favorite thing to do was to go on ox.fun instead of, any of these other platforms, but it was O as the letter O as well, not 0x.fun. But ox.fun would, they'd have this giant list of stuff that you could trade in a DeFi way, you could, long and short it. And I swear to you, you could just go on, see what the top gainer was for the day, wait an hour, and then the next thing you knew, you could just short the living shit out of it and watch it fall. So, yeah, like nothing lasts forever. And in crypto, it doesn't last even longer than a day and a half. Yeah, most pumps are just not lasting very long. I think that's a liquidity issue. Oh, okay. So we have to talk about the Taylor Swift thing. All right. I'll get into it just a second. I'm gonna add a little butter to pot here. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna season everything with the same seasonings that I used on the chicken. Salt, pepper. Oregano and poultry seasoning. This is probably not enough, but you could always add. It's much harder to take away. It's like your position, right? When you add too much because you think that Taylor Swift, there's no way. There's no possible way. All right, we're gonna add this chicken back in. Okay, so this is 3 cups of water, which would be enough for the rice. I'm gonna add about at least 6. Okay, and then I'm gonna add better than bouillon. Somebody noted while I was making the gumbo that I don't measure this. Okay, look, it is 1 teaspoon for every 8 ounces. And I used about 6. I used about 6 cups. So that would be 6 teaspoons, or about 3, what is that? 3 tablespoons, right? So we're just gonna add a giant spoonful still, and I'm not gonna measure this because if I want to add more, I will. I also have the powdered chicken bouillon, the Knorr's kind, but I don't like that as much. I actually think this is a little better for you. I can't tell you what's in the Knorr's, but I feel like it's not quite as pure in the ingredient list as this. But I really love this stuff. If we had some sponsorship by then, I swear I would be like so happy. All right. So you're gonna bring this up to a boil. You're gonna set this to a simmer and reduce the heat, and we're gonna cover it for about 20 minutes. And then we're gonna pull the chicken out and shred it. And then the soup will be done. Okay, so the elephant in the room, I guess, the Taylor Swift issue. So I was scrolling on Kalshi, which is obviously the betting platform, and on Kalshi, they had a bet, and there was a whole section about Taylor Swift. I think this is absolutely insane that this is where we're at, that betting markets have a whole section dedicated to her and whatever she's doing. But then again, I saw there was a whole section on people literally betting on the daily weather of different cities. So am I really surprised? Not really, no. You guys will bet on anything. I know this. I have known this for a long time. But regardless, the Taylor Swift bet was about whether or not she would hold all 12 spots on the Billboard Hot 100. Despite the fact that she had done this the previous time, where I think she actually released like a few albums kind of all at once. She released like her old music, she released the Tortured Poets one, and then she released the whatever the era one. Guys, I'm not like that big of a fan. I'm also not approaching 50 single with a cat. So maybe my judgment was kind of skewed on whether or not I thought this bet would work out. But when I saw the bet, it was at like a 94% chance, yes, that she would hold all 12 spots of the Billboard Hot 100. That list is weighted not just by streaming, but also by sales and by radio plays. There's only maybe 3 of her songs being played on the radio. There's a lot of other artists being played on the radio right now just as often. Justin Bieber's Daisies, Tate McRae, and then that K-pop Demon Hunters songs, right? There's a couple actually. So here I am thinking like, well, this is the craziest skewed bet I've ever seen. And here's these people risking like 6 figures on a yes bet just to make, $50 or something crazy. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is dumb. I've drank $100 before, so I might as well just throw it at this bet and see what turn, because the payout was like $2,000 if it worked out. Whatever. Look, you got to risk big to win big. That is not financial advice. Do not do that. But whatever. I had $100, so I thought I'd just throw it down on it. Yeah, it turns out either the system is fucking rigged or people are that nuts. And Taylor Swift did, in fact, yet again, rein in all 12 spots of the Billboard Hot 100. Personally, I still don't legitimately believe that this happened, but I guess she did. So many shots fired. You have no idea how pissed I was. We did kind of figure out, like, I think more than right before it happened, that we were screwed because there were several of us in the chat. I feel bad. I convinced like many people that this was a sure thing, that there was no way. But it turns out the music industry, which is totally known for being fair and transparent to everyone, yeah, they had different ideas. So there we go. That's how we lost our first big call she bet, guys. I swear I'm going to find one, though. I'm going to find one day that we're going to, we're going to win. Okay, so let me bring this up to a boil a little faster. It's at this point that it would be nice if I had some kind of dessert to make separately, but I don't, and please don't you encourage that. I am trying to be decent before the holidays, and we all know what happens during the holidays. Everybody eats way too much. In my country, we call them feathered horses. Is that chicken? Just make a 1 cup for dessert. I'd have to look that up. I don't know what that is. So one of the funnier things I wanted to talk about today was actually who inspired me on the Food Network. And we've talked about the different ones that I used to watch. I'm actually like a really big fan of Ida Garten. I have a couple of her cookbooks, Gianna De Laurentiis, stuff like that. But my absolute favorite to watch was the one that I'm sure you've seen this GIF online, or it's like a little clip. And it's someone saying it's Sandra Lee, and the show was Semi-Homemade with Sandra Lee. And she is making some kind of a punch, and she pours what she says 1 cup of vodka or like a 1/4 cup of vodka. And she essentially just turns the handle of vodka, which is 1.75 liters, just like upside down into whatever this is. And the rest of the GIF is that then in cuts a Muppet, like a Jim Henson's Muppet, and he is slamming all around a kitchen, including like falling into a dishwasher. When I saw this clip, I cried and screamed laughing because this show, Semi-Homemade with Sandra Lee, was basically like that. So she would start with a dish, and whatever she would make used like very, very friendly ingredients. She wasn't necessarily a chef, but apparently she was the wife of the Food Network like CEO. She was his wife. And they gave her the show, and she would make these dishes where you would combine like cans of cream of chicken soup. She wouldn't really make anything from scratch. It was just kind of like a dump and go situation, which was fine. And, you know, there are people who just need to put dinner together, and I don't disrespect that at all. But people like Anthony Bourdain were totally shitting on her for quite a while. And in his book, No Reservations, he actually has a section about finally seeing her in person and what she ends up saying and doing to him because of it. It's worth a read. But regardless, her show always had like an appetizer or like a main portion and a dessert or something. And then she would have a cocktail portion. And that was how every episode was structured, that it had like 2 foods and a drink. And I could tell that after a while, the cocktail portion was far more important to her than the food portion, because she'd make the fucking drink from scratch. So I even saw her during one episode like completely abandon the meal that she was making. Like she was like halfway through it. She's like, yeah, so you're gonna, and she just like listed out the rest of the directions, and she went right over to the drink portion. I laughed my ass off. I thought this was so funny. So when I saw the GIF of like her pouring the punch and way too much vodka, the Muppets smashing around the kitchen, this is why I thought this was absolutely fantastic. The one thing I'm going to do here before I put the lid on this and try to turn this down is these are kind of like some impurities. Holy shit, that's hot. So I'm going to scrape off some of this foam from the top. And I'm going to try and not take the mushrooms with me here. Scrape off the heavy metals. Are they heavy metals, or is it just impurities from the chicken? Or is this like one of those government words that they use to try to make us not feel bad? Is it fat? It is kind of fat. Okay. Good. All right, we're going to reduce this to low. Give this one more stir. And we're going to set a timer for 18 minutes. All right, while this chills, I'm going to clean up a tiny bit. So yeah, you guys have to tell me, did you try and farm the Monad airdrop? Have you been brutally disappointed? Or are you just going to pop popcorn and go in the Discord of the Monad channel just to watch the meltdown right now? I'm actually going to go through my bookmarks and read you some of my favorite outraged tweets right now, because this was, I'm telling you, I've been like majorly entertained by this. I have to get out of the chat to read this. Just a second. Okay. Here's some great tweets. Monad tweeting, "Community is everything," with a heart emoji. Yeah, I can tell. The Monad Discord group is just, there's somebody posted a screenshot and it's nothing but the angry red face emoji, just like all over the cussing one, the angry red face. Why bribe NFT collections and crypto Twitter when you can have loyal 1 million SBT holders? People saying the tokenomics are pure crime. When they released the tokenomics detail, here was part of the subtle way of them saying that they are excluding these kind of like third world countries. In determining criteria that could identify crypto power users, we considered what actions civil actors could easily repetitively take, and instead of focused on criteria that would be difficult to fake. As part of our anti-civil efforts, we purged over 27 million wallets active in the region of South Asia, primarily India. So 27 million active people got completely screwed. Let's see, there's lots of comments. Today is worse than December 16th for Pakistan. 93,000 soldiers surrender. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Monad will regret messing with Pakistan. Okay, we've reached like World War level of blockchain anger. Great. Yesterday alone, they got over 30 negative reviews on Ethos. So many people calling it a scam project. People just using emojis to type out scam monad in the Discord. And the best part is they have formed now an anti-monad alliance of some kind. I don't know how collectively you do that on the blockchain, but they have like formed their alliance. And I don't know what you could possibly do about this. But yeah, kind of hilarious. So that's the Monad news, guys. I'm gonna go back to the chat. But you know, like we were talking about, obviously the liquidity isn't really there to justify this. You get a big red candle either way, but at least if you gamble on a small set of calls, you have, you know, several of them that hopefully are going to have the Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme effect of at least influencing enough other people to buy into the token that when they sell their stake up at the top, it's not felt as badly as if you just sent it to people with, you know, little to no following or impressions who are just going to immediately sell their shit. What is Mitten? Oh, Melton? Oh, Molten. It's powered by Bitcoin. Are they promising you an airdrop? Oh, he got one. Let's see. While I stand here, we can also check some crypto news. Is this crypto news? China says it will fight to the end if the US wants a trade war. If you wish to negotiate, our door remains open. It doesn't sound like it with language like that. Elon Musk says Bitcoin is based on energy and it's impossible to fake energy. I would agree. Oh God, Jim Cramer says he hopes money can be taken out of crypto and put into, quote, real economy stocks. A week and a half ago, this fool said to buy crypto. I don't understand why the flip-flopping. Like, this dude is more paper-handed than toilet paper. Binance to distribute $300 million to users who were liquidated during last week's market crash. Oh, apparently Trump and President Xi have scheduled a meeting to discuss the tariffs. And gold reaches a new all-time high and ETH falls below $4,000. Freaking lovely. So I really enjoyed Monday's format. I feel like we can talk about this for a minute. Monday's format is more of a news-based format. That is also a live stream. So that's got a different setup, and it's basically just kind of some general headlines. We go through current events, things that happened over the weekend, and things that maybe are upcoming or things to look forward to, and just kind of generally shoot the shit about the high-level version of what's going on. I do not intend to make that show like a technical analysis show beyond maybe we just like pull up the chart and take a look. I don't. I believe technical analysis is essentially like astrology for men. And, you know, my favorite part about TA is that there are actually astrological elements that you can actually incorporate within your TA. There's a moon indicator. You can do the new moon and the full moon. And actually, it was correct. This past supermoon, we pumped pretty hard coming out of, or going into the supermoon, and then dumped pretty hard coming out of it. So I don't know. Maybe it's not bullshit at all. But yeah, that's like the most technical of my technical analysis you're gonna get. I'm not gonna pull up cup and handles or like Hike and Ashi candles for you. I don't know any more than you do about what's going on. Now, what I can do, however, is call some real long-term shots. And I pointed this out in a clip that got posted last week about when CZ got out of jail and the price of BNB at the time, and then what it is now, even now to this day. I mean, it's like a fucking almost a 10x or something from where it was when he was in jail and now where it is. I joined some Twitter space either on Friday over the weekend that they were talking about CZ and how he's just light years beyond people like Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. How, you know, CZ claims things like, oh, I don't understand meme coins. I don't know anything about it. And the people in this space were like, that's absolute bullshit. He absolutely does understand meme coins. He's been running the concept of meme coins forever, right? He has obviously, you know, released the name of his dog like a couple months back. I remember that was another one that went crazy. So the idea that CZ doesn't understand something in crypto is clearly not true. The general consensus is obviously that CZ plays chess and everyone else is still playing checkers. CZ might be playing like some other like digital game as well, and the rest of us are just not on that level. Let's see. Oh my gosh, this guy in the chat has a lion. I actually have a family friend that, well, they were like friends with my parents, so they were a little older, but they had a sister who went and bought a lion, like just one afternoon. She was like 17 or 18 at the time, and my dad's friend, he came home and he like looked out in the backyard and he was like, man, that is the weirdest looking dog I've ever seen. And then he realized it was a freaking lion. So it is possible to just go buy, you know, go buy a wild animal. We all saw Tiger King. Apparently in the state of Missouri, it's the last place where you could just like own these crazy animals, you know, a chimpanzee, a lion, a tiger, anything. The chat says that there's a ton of B&B fun right now about their listing process. What I think is absolutely spectacular is watching all of these exchanges come out and try and say that B&B or Binance in particular is the one with the shady listing process. I'm sorry. No, remember how we were talking about the market makers and how they have their own shady ass process? I can absolutely assure you that these exchanges also have their own shady ass listing process. It's not an if, it's a when. This is for real. Duh. But the fact that they're acting like B&B deserves the stake because of it, it's like, well, then you all do. What a world of hypocrisy here that we have. That's amazing. I'm going to go to a couple other. The Ethereum Foundation deposits 2,400 ETH and $6 million in stablecoins into Morpho Vault, supporting open source DeFi development. Is it supporting DeFi development, or is it more red candles on the chart? I feel like that sounds like we're selling. Ripple announces partnership with ABSA South Africa, making it the first major African financial institution to join as a custody partner. Sam Bankman-Fried is on some platform called Getter and says that his 2022 arrest was politically motivated by the Biden administration after he began donating to Republicans. No. I'm pretty sure it was the hundreds of millions of dollars that immediately evaporated from a bunch of people's accounts that got you hung up by the 5-0. But keep trying. New York City Mayor Eric Adams signs an order creating the first ever Office of Digital Assets and Blockchain. Isn't New York the state where you like can't trade like anything? I think you can't have a crypto.com account. I'm pretty sure you can't sign up for a centralized exchange in the state of New York, or most of them. They're blocked by your internet service provider. And the S&P partners with Chainlink to publish stablecoin stability assessments on-chain via data link. You know, Chainlink is just one of those projects that is just going to continue to crush this. Their cross-chain interoperability protocol, I know that this is like not a sexy topic at all, but their ability to essentially swap between chains is really unmatched. For people who don't totally understand why that isn't possible outside of a centralized exchange, you can think of different blockchains as different streaming services on your television. So Bitcoin is Netflix, and Solana is Hulu, and Ethereum is Stars or Paramount Plus. And the shows that are on each of those streaming services are not usually on the others. So the tokens that you were trying to buy, for instance, if you're trying to buy something on Ethereum, it used to be really hard. If you bought Pepe, you couldn't go buy a Solana version. Or if you bought Ethereum, you couldn't just swap over into Solana without the use of a centralized exchange. These were all walled off from each other. Chainlink brought the technology and the ability to essentially connect everybody with, you know, like cords, wires, cables, bridges, for the ability to finally say, okay, I want to take my money here and I'm going to move it over here. And it seems to be far more secure than something like Wormhole, where Wormhole's been hacked before, unfortunately, but they've also recovered nicely. But yeah, I just think that I'm a Chainlink maxi. I actually don't even know if I own any. I don't even know if I do. But yes, everyone is using CCIP particularly. There's been a lot of institutional adoption. So a lot of the bigger players, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, that kind of thing, they are very big fans of this. And unfortunately now, because we all bitched and moaned and wanted institutional money in crypto, even though that completely defeats the purpose of decentralization, now we kind of probably should follow the white rabbit this way. So the way that they're going suggests that there will be enough volume for them to generate things that probably make it worth it for us. Yeah, let me know if you think that was a great idea, that everybody celebrated institutional adoption. Is it more money? Yes. Is it basically inviting the same bullshit in that we tried to escape with fiat, though? That's a question worth examining here. Okay, I'm gonna get a cutting board and we're gonna pull the chicken out and we're gonna shred it. I'm gonna use something kind of funny that I have. Wipe these off. These like Wolverine claws. I don't even know why I have these. I'm going to be really honest. A fork works just as well. But we're going to use the Wolverine claws because we're doing something fun today. My grandma is using CCIP. It does feel like some kind of boomer technology almost, right? Like, I don't know. Okay, this has been simmering very nicely. I just realized I made myself a cup of tea before this started, and then I didn't drink it. Okay, we're gonna pull this out. I'm trying to not pull the vegetables out. This smells so good. So the last thing I'm gonna add is a can, like a full can of coconut cream. Again, please feel free to use heavy cream if you want. I'm just trying to save my stomach and everyone around me and the person who sleeps next to me from having a horrible time. All right. Okay. Yeah, if I remember correctly, this works better on like a much larger piece of meat, like a pulled pork or something like that. This is ridiculous. I'm sure this was some kind of like infomercial thing that I saw and was like, oh, it looks awesome. Or, you know, I don't know what my judgment was here, guys. I'm feeling like this is still going to end up with me using a fork. Yeah, it is. Okay, I'm not going to do this. This is too much. So you guys will have to let me know what your favorite soup is for soup season. Obviously, if you live north of the Sun Belt, it feels like winter goes on for way too long. So we have the potential to be eating soups for quite a while up here. One of my favorite, like all veggie ones, is actually a roasted butternut squash soup. And that was actually insanely easy to do. Oh, someone in the chat has the Wolverine claws. Do you use them, or do you still wind up using a fork? I forget about them every time. I usually forget about mine too. You could also just pull this chicken out and chop it, but I just prefer the shredded texture, especially with the rice for some reason. I think that blends better. I'm gonna try and not burn my fingers when I grab this chicken here. Put this back in. And this was actually 2 pounds of chicken. The breasts were just really thin. I like fuller breasts, guys. But when I went to the store, they didn't have them in the organic chicken section. So, fun fact, if you, not that I'm trying to like ruin meat for everybody, but if you were buying like regular chicken that's out in the store, a lot of the time, in order to keep the chicken like sanitary while they clean it, they put it in a bath of water and usually a little bit of bleach or chlorine. So if you'd like to eat that with your meat, because the chicken breasts are typically absorbing the water that they sit in, which is why they're so inflated by the time we get to you. Yeah, just something to think about. And we all know how I feel about the process of patience here. I'm not the most patient fan. The more chlorine, the better. Yeah. I like how recently, the price of food is so crazy, especially the price of organic or, better food. And there was always that, meme or saying or whatever, and they're like, oh, if you think organic food is expensive, if you priced cancer lately. And I'm kind of thinking like the cancer might be cheaper. If you have good insurance compared to the price of the grocery bill, I don't know, dude. Like, we might want to do some cost benefit analysis at this point. Have I ever shredded chicken using the automatic mixer method? Yes, I have. It is very easy, and I actually have one. I just don't ever think to do that for some reason. I end up forgetting that I have that when it comes to meat. It's like not my first thought that I'm going to pull that out unless I'm baking. But yes, massive cheat code. And I was shocked when I used it the first time to do that. I couldn't believe how well that worked. Not to burn this. Oh, did someone come over for a piece of chicken? Yeah. If you can't see, that is my lab, who is the weirdest lab in the world, by the way. He is the pickiest eater of any Labrador. Most of them will like eat your kitchen cabinet right out of the floor there, but for some reason this dog is like insanely picky, like in a way that is very confusing. He takes treats and he will still just kind of like look at it, examine it, like take a really tentative bite, and then be like, I don't know, maybe. Except cheese, though. We love cheese. Oh my god. Okay. All right, we're gonna throw all of this back in, and then I'm gonna grab the can of coconut milk, and we'll be done. Which is perfect and right on time. Took exactly 1 hour. Yeah, so just know if you are hand shredding it and you're cooking this, this takes about an hour, but it makes so much and it is so delicious. You are gonna have it for at least a couple days. I'm gonna try and turn the thing off. No, it's gonna follow me. I apologize. Okay. Hello. Okay. These are, please don't throw up on the stream. These are coconut cream specifically, and there is a difference between cream and milk. Obviously, one is much thicker and the other is runny. And I'm going to open these cans. I grew up in a house with an automatic can opener. And then I would go to my Nana's and she would have this hand one, and I was always like, God, can I just get it? And now I have the hand one, and I think about that automatic can opener like every time I do this. I don't open a lot of cans though, so I can't justify it. All right. So it's got this like thicker, I'll show it in this camera, like this thicker texture and paste. It looks kind of like coconut oil if you've ever used coconut oil. And then it's got a little bit of a watery texture at the bottom. So you're gonna wanna mix this in, and this will kind of like melt. And it will obviously change the tone of the soup to have like a creamier looking texture on your taste buds, and then also in color and tone. So it'll change this like creamy green color. And then I'm gonna add just like half the can. Let's see. And this doesn't add like, it's not like you're gonna take a bite of this and think that you are eating a pina colada soup. Like this doesn't add that kind of flavor at all. It just adds like a creamy milk texture to it. So the thing I love the most about this soup is that, especially if you get the broth to veggie meat ratio right, like 1 scoop and spoonful is obviously like so much broth and veggies. So you're gonna get a really nice, like nutrient packed meal. This is good if you're, you know, regardless of whether or not if you're sick, if you're well, if it's cold outside or freezing. I am a big fan of this. So if you give this recipe a try, please let me know. And yeah, that's it. Otherwise, we will see you guys on Monday at 12 p.m. for another live stream of Let Her Cook. We will be talking crypto events and news. And at some point, I will post a picture of this lovely soup in a bowl and me finally chowing down on it. I can't wait. It's delicious. But I will see you guys next week on Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern.